Have you ever scrolled through your own photos and thought, if only I had a better camera? In the last video, we talked about angle of view and framing, and how understanding light and perspective can transform your photos. Today we're tackling the upgrade question. Should you pour your hard-earned cash into a new camera body or invest in a better lens? This is a common discussion for us photographers, and the answer isn't as simple as it seems. Stick around and I'll give you a straightforward way to decide, plus some bonus tips for shooting with what you already have. We've all felt that gear itch, I know I have, but here's something to think about. A new camera body will never magically fix bad composition, confusing light or shaky technique. Understanding why you'd upgrade is far more powerful than just spending for the sake of it. And that's why today we're breaking it down so you can make a more informed, confident choice. But before we dive in, if you want help with your photography foundations, no matter what camera or lens you use, why not grab my ebook after the video, totally free when you join my newsletter group. The link is for you in the description. Photographers starting out often think better cameras mean better photos, but in reality, bodies and lenses solve different problems. A new body might give you better low light performance, faster autofocus or more resolution, whereas a new lens changes the look of your image, your angle of view, your depth of field and your creative options, and often the overall sharpness. A new lens can entirely open up new subjects, from portraits with blurred backgrounds to wildlife at 300mm or extreme close-ups with macro lenses. So when does a camera body matter most? If you're shooting sports or wildlife, you need a fast, reliable autofocus and a high burst rate. If you're printing large image sizes or cropping in tight, you want more megapixels. If you often shoot in low light, a newer, more up-to-date sensor can give you cleaner files at high ISO. The camera body upgrade is a question I've been asking myself recently. Should I switch to mirrorless? When I took this picture to my great friend Ian, face and eye tracking would have been really useful as he was constantly moving due to the river current. But is that reason enough to upgrade from my 5DSR? I'm not so sure. Lenses can open new creative doors. If you want those lovely dreamy backgrounds, get a fast prime lens like the 50mm 1.8. If you want to capture tiny details, a 100mm macro would be a good choice. And if the priority is to travel light, then you can't go far wrong with a versatile 24-105. And remember, good glass lasts decades. You can upgrade your camera body many times over and still be using the same great glass. Better lenses also offer a much bigger boost in low light performance. Going from f5.6 to f1.4 lets in 16 times more light. A modulation transfer function chart, or MTF for short, shows how well a lens renders contrast at different levels of detail. Modern lens makers publish these charts so you can see a lens's potential performance. But don't worry about the science. Think of it like an eye test at the optician. Big letters at the top, any lens can read those, but the tiny letters at the bottom, only the really sharp lenses can still make them out. The horizontal axis shows how far you are from the image center. 0 is dead center, while the right side represents the corners. The vertical axis shows how much light or contrast is maintained on a scale from 0 to 1. A perfect lens would keep a flat line near the top, but in reality lenses show curves that gradually drop towards the edges as the resolution and contrast fall off. In other words, an MTF chart is just a visual way of showing how much detail a lens holds from the center all the way to the corners. It gives potential buyers a clear objective snapshot of how a lens delivers contrast and detail across the frame. So it makes it an easy way to compare lenses and gauge their optical performance before you actually buy. Okay, let's do a simple experiment using an old stone wall as our subject. And this isn't about my specific gear, it's a test you can try with whatever kit you own. The point of this is to see where a camera body makes a difference and where a lens makes a difference. First, I'm using the same 50mm prime lens on both camera bodies. On the full frame 5DSR, it looks like a standard normal view, On the crop sensor 60D, it looks more zoomed in, more like an 80mm lens would on a full frame, which is down to the crop factor. It doesn't change the lens itself, just how much of the scene the sensor shows. It's a bit like putting blinkers on the lens, if that makes any sense. When we compare our images, look out for two things. The 5DSR gives us more resolution and finer detail. Notice the individual stones are crisper. And the 60D can look just as sharp in the center, but you see less of the scene and more compression because of that cropped in view. But overall, the prime lens holds up pretty well. Next, let's switch to a standard zoom and set it to 70mm. On the 5DSR, it's a true 70mm view. On the 60D, it looks like about 105mm. So the full frame shot feels wider. The crop sensor feels more telephoto. When we compare them, look out for how the field of view changes. The full frame takes in more of the wall. On the crop sensor, you're closer in, which can be useful for reach, but you also lose some context. If you zoom in on the detail, the full frame sensor handles noise and tiny textures better, which is down to the higher resolution. Lastly, on the 5DSR, let's compare a Pro lens to a cheaper zoom, both again set at 70mm. In this instance, the sensor is the same, so the difference you see comes from the lens itself. We're looking out for sharpness all the way to the edges, and the Pro lens holds up. The cheaper zoom usually gets softer. With contrast, the Pro lens gives you richer, cleaner blacks and whites. And distortion or color fringes are less with the Pro lens and more with the cheaper zoom. So what does all this tell us? The sensor, your camera body, changes the field of view and handles things like resolution and noise. A better lens definitely improves technical qualities too, like sharpness, contrast and reducing distortion. But here's the big difference. A new body mostly improves your camera's performance, while a new lens expands your creative options. So rather than which is better, the better question to ask yourself is which solves the problem I have right now. And if you're not ready to upgrade at all yet, why not completely master what gear you already have by moving your feet, changing your angle and using natural light effectively. These kind of skills actually pay far bigger dividends in new gear. So to quickly recap, newer and more high-spec camera bodies improve technical performance, like better resolution, better noise handling and speed. Better lenses improve both technical quality and creative flexibility. They change how your image looks and feels. And the key here is to match your next upgrade to the problem you need to solve. So before you get your wallet out, decide whether you need a better technical performance or new creative possibilities, and then upgrade accordingly. So if this was helpful, hit that like button and subscribe so more photographers see it. Tell us in the comments what's on your upgrade wish list and why. I'd love to know. Check out all the links in the description and don't forget your ebook. As always, thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.